Woo! Welcome back, everybody. It's been a while. Uh, so we got some breaking news, man. I don't even know how to start this really, but if you haven't seen the news, I'm sure you have. I'm sure you have, but if you haven't, Celtics making a blockbuster move. A day before media day, the Celtics are trading Malcolm Brogdon, Robert Williams, and 2 first-round picks in exchange to the Portland Trailblazers for former Milwaukee Buck Drew Holiday. Now there is so much to dive into about this move from Boston sides, from Portland side, from Milwaukee side. We're obviously going to focus more so on the Eastern Conference, the Boston side, the Milwaukee side, how this affects the East, the Celtics, and everything. But before we get started, guys, welcome in. If you don't know me, I am your host, Rob Atan. Join with me with my 3 lovely co-hosts, Justin Lowe, Ian Angelo, and our boy Franco. Guys, Justin, I'll start with you. Your initial thoughts, right? Don't tell me everything because we got a whole show to discuss it. But your initial thoughts, your reaction to this blockbuster deal.
Yeah, shocked. I feel like just as much as everybody else was. I was a little bit taken back. I didn't hate the deal, didn't love the deal, kind of just iffy. But we'll dive into it. But I love the guy who we got in return. Just shocked, Ian.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. I mean, I expected Drew Holiday to be a Celtic. The trade itself was just kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's always good to see what we got in return. First headline I saw was we got Drew Holiday, and then you see what we gave up, and then reality starts to set in, and now we're lower on depth and the big man position.
Yeah, so I was pissed at first. I won't lie. I was pissed because when I saw the Drew Holiday headline, I knew exactly. I mean, we talked about it off camera that in order to get it done, we knew what the package was going to be. We just knew. So when I saw that, I didn't know what was going out. I was pissed, man. I was pissed. In one off season, we let go of 2 guys who Celtics fans really leaned on. In Drew or in Marcus Smart and Robert Williams. But now, Justin, now that it's been 3 hours and it's set in, as Jack joins us, where are you at? Is this a win? Was this a smart move? Do you like this? Does this better our chances of winning a championship? I mean, let me hear it.
This is what you call we've been to the conference finals 5 of the last 8 years, and we have a whopping 0 titles, a whopping 0 championship wins. Brad Stevens took this position 2 years ago, and I think he's done a tremendous job. One of these jobs that you have to do when you haven't won a title since 2008 and you've been there year after year after year, you got to take risks. You have to take risks. You have to make sacrifices, and that's just what the Boston Celtics and Brad Stevens did this offseason. That doesn't mean they wanted to give these guys up. That doesn't mean they thought they were going to give these guys up. But they knew when they were down 0-3 to the play-in seed Miami Heat, it wasn't enough. They had to shake it up. They did. It's championship or bust for the Boston Celtics for these next, I'd say, this year and next year. The window is now, though. We've talked about this throughout the offseason. The window was open before this trade. The window is still open after this trade. The Celtics significantly got better in the backcourt this offseason. A little bit weaker on the front court now that Robert Williams is gone, but I'm sure that Brad Stevens will make the right adjustments. I'm sure, I threw out the name Dwight Howard in there, but you got to take risks. You have to take risks, Ian.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. When I saw the trade, I was a little taken aback because I didn't expect them to end up trading Robert Williams. But I mean, you're the Celtics, so you gotta make changes somewhere. And this isn't a knock on Rob or anything, but he has been injured in crucial times over the last few years. And with us relying so much on him and him becoming a bench role player, it kind of answers the question as to, where was Robert Williams actually going to end up? So, I mean, it sucks that we lost Rob. It sucks that we lost Malcolm Brogdon too because he was 6th man of the year last year. But I'm very excited about Drew Holiday. I absolutely love Drew Holiday, and I especially love him with the fact that we have two all defensive team guys at the guard position, two all NBA guys at the forward position, and we have an all star at the center position. So I'm just excited for the season to start now. Franco.
Yeah, that was just a great trade. It really just solidifies the starting five, and now you can. We've seen the league; it's going towards star-dependent rosters. You're seeing very little depth teams that are filled 1 through 10. Now it's come down to you have 6 players that are going to get those minutes, 6 to 7 players that are going to get those minutes during the games. And that's what your primary focus is, and then let the rest fall where it will be. But now you can roll out Derek White in the starting lineup alongside Drew Holiday. It's a smaller lineup with Kristaps at center. Going into this season, we thought Kristaps was going to be playing more of a 4 position next to Rob, and that changed drastically. So we're going to be seeing a lot more of Kristaps in the paint, working the interior, which is going to be one of the big question marks everyone had for him going into this season. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that pans out and how he rotates with Al.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing how Al Horford is going to be used and how his minutes are going to be worked, early in the season, getting him ready for the playoffs. Because, again, he's getting up there. So if possible, I'd like to see him play not any more than 25 minutes during the regular season, especially during those meaningless games that, the Wizards come into town or the Pistons or something. Like, we could beat those guys with our bench. But and like Franco said, this is a team that has finals aspirations. We're not depth. When it comes to those playoffs, those finals, as you said, 6, 7 guys. I see a lot of people talking about how we might have ruined our depth with this trade, but it's the last thing I'm worried about right now.
Yeah, I mean, this was the biggest. I mean, you don't get more ballsy than what Brad Stevens had just done. And I think that's something he has proven to us that he is going to do. I mean, once Smart was gone, we knew it, that serious change was coming. And Justin and I were talking earlier today, and we were saying how there's been change the past 5-6 years. There's been additions, but there hasn't really been like I should say there hasn't been change. There's been additions, right? Yeah, guys like Hayward and Kyrie came into town, and then you kind of after that whole experiment, you got your core. You got your guys like Robert Williams. You drafted Grant. You brought in the core group of guys, and those guys have gotten 3 years together, and they've been to 3 conference finals and to 1 NBA finals. This was Brad Stevens, I think, saying like, listen. Tatum, Brown, it's on you. We shouldn't see the same problems we've saw the past couple years. There's no reason to. And if we do, we know exactly where it is now. And that's what Brad Stevens did. I think he elevated the talent on this roster. I mean, if you break down the trade, do you trade Marcus Smart, Robert Williams and Malcolm Brogdon with 2 first-round picks for Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis? Yeah, probably. And I'll probably do it 10 times out of 10. We essentially have, instead of Marcus Smart and Robert Williams, you have Holiday and Porzingis. So it's like, it makes sense. It really does. And did we lose depth? Yes, we did. We did lose depth. Personally speaking, guys, I know the starting lineup was a hot topic in the podcast. I roll towards a guy like Lamar Stevens, Sam Hauser, or Jordan Walsh to be implemented into the starting lineup now. I want White running that second unit alongside Horford playing that backup big role. And if you put a shooter, a guy like Sam Hauser on the perimeter alongside Porzingis and Holiday and Brown and Tatum, the ball movement, the spacing, defensively, Hauser holds his own. I mean, he's actually a pretty solid defender. So I do think this presents a lot of opportunity for Boston. And I mean, shit, excuse my language. I know we're not supposed to swear, but it's like, God, wow, Brad did that, and I'm super excited for it. Because I mean, you couldn't really change much more to this team without trading Tatum and Brown. I mean, you really couldn't.
Right. And this
Yeah.
is, we mentioned this, Rob. This is change. This is fresh. This is
Yeah,
new.
this is
We
new.
haven't seen this, right? Like guys like Marcus Smart and Robert Williams or Grant Williams, who have been with this team for years, especially, before the bubble, you know, it was about time, right? I'm not saying that we wouldn't have won a title without them, because I still think with those guys, we're still a title contender and one of the favorites in the entire NBA. But at the same time, especially with Milwaukee getting much, much better in the offseason, at least offensively. Defense, they lost, they lost some depth. But I just think that the window is now. We keep saying it, but it's right now for Boston, and the changes, and it's fresh, and we're less than, what is it, 18 hours away from media day. I mean, Christ, Drew Holiday
I cannot wait.
literally has to be on a
cannot
flight
wait.
to Boston. I definitely think it's funny because it went from like a dead off season where everything happened in June, right? Everything happened after the NBA finals, and then nothing. And then all of a sudden, 24 hours before media day, we're looking at a totally new, and in my opinion, improved Boston Celtics team.
And you know what? Something that is not really being publicized. If you're Milwaukee, you just screwed up big time. Because sure, you got Damian Lillard, but you essentially traded Drew Holiday to the Boston Celtics in the process. And that goes back to the point I was trying to make earlier on the Instagram Live when the Dame trade broke. It's like, you just, sure, did you improve against the league, the rest of the league? If you're Milwaukee, absolutely. But did you improve against the Boston Celtics, which has been a team to if you want to go to the NBA Finals, you have to go through Boston. It just, over the past 6 years, that's how it's run. Boston's gonna be there in the top Final Four in the Eastern Conference Finals. So now I sit down, I look at this. Okay, you got Dame, but we got your guy. We got the all defensive first team guy, who matchup wise I love. So if you really run down 1 through 5 now, I don't really think Milwaukee poses a big threat to Boston anymore. I said it before. They, matchup-wise, struggled big time against us. They give us the 3 ball, and our strength is shooting, and that paint gets left wide open when our shots fall. So it's like, if you're Milwaukee guys, are you just kicking yourselves now because you essentially traded Dame? If you traded for Dame and sent Drew Holiday to Boston?
I don't really think that, honestly. I think they're pretty happy with Damian Lillard right now, so I don't really know how concerned they are about Drew Holiday in Boston. I mean, another interesting thing to think about when it comes to Milwaukee and Boston is, even if you saw, let's just go back to 2022, without Robert Williams, there were games where the Celtics won games without Robert Williams. Barely played that entire series, and the Celtics still won that series.
Right.
And they had Al Horford and Daniel Tice in their front court. And now,
well, don't worry, Tice is coming back anyway. So
yeah, I know. I'm already expecting that. So, but now you have a guy in Porzingis who, he's a pretty solid defender. I mean, I'm not gonna call him like an all defense guy,
Right.
but he's a solid defender. Al Horford, don't kill me, Anna Horford, but he is still 38 years old. But I mean, seems to, he hasn't run out of gas yet, so it'll just be interesting. I feel like this is just gonna have to be a wait and see thing. But if I'm Milwaukee, I don't know if I'm concerned, but I think it's pretty interesting that now Drew Holiday is on the other side of this whole thing.
How about Miami missing out on both Drew and Dame?
Well, crazy. So I think this is an important piece of information we need to talk about as well in terms of the Robert Williams fiasco, because again, I think initial reactions to this, I know Ian and Franco were super high on this. They were okay with this from the jump. But if you look at Robert Williams' game logs over his career, his past 5 seasons, 32 games, 29 games, 52 games, 61 games, 35 games, being last year 35. So it's like, is there a question to be raised is, do we overvalue some of those homegrown talents that we had. Guys like Grant Williams, guys like Robert Williams, right? Who were just, they felt good. They were feel good players because he made some great looking plays and he was talented. He's a very talented young player. But it's like, was Robert Williams really what this team needed? Like, did you need a Robert Williams on your team or do you need a Drew Holiday? And I think when you sit here and you look at Rob's ability, I think you lean Drew Holiday.
I think just the issue was we know how awesome Robert Williams was when he was healthy. We know the caliber of player he is and he was, but the problem was as you literally just listed games, Rob, he couldn't get healthy. I mean, he had seasons where he didn't even touch 40 games, a 29 game season, a 35 game season. So you look at that and you definitely are gonna miss Robert Williams, I think, in some facets. But I definitely don't think the Celtics, by any means, drastically lost this trade. You see a ton of people. Oh my gosh, like they got a bigger haul than Brooklyn or who is it? Milwaukee did for Dame. I just think this is that player that gets you over that level. And it's also funny how for years people have been harping on, oh yeah, Drew Holiday is so much better than Smart. Well, now all of a sudden Drew Holiday's on the Celtics, and it's like, oh, the Celtics lost Marcus Smart this offseason. It's like, well, But Ian, I think it's just a fresh start for Boston.
Those guys, Grant and Rob, all the guys we lost, Smart. We all love those guys, but they've had 4 opportunities to win a championship. I was in the building when they've gotten eliminated the past 2 years and watched them walk off the court with the same result.
Right.
It came to a point of basically insanity for them, and I didn't see it getting any better for them, just like we've seen like the tendencies are changing in the NBA. Philly's going to fall apart because they're keeping the same bases around until they figure out what's going on with Harden. And Milwaukee, they obviously had to switch things around. They've been running the same roster for the past 4 years. It's kind of felt very stay in place for the past 4 years in like the roster rankings in the Eastern Conference, and now you're seeing that shakeup happen.
100%. And I also think this is a trade that just it really shows you that the Celtics are all in this year. This is they feel their window closing, and also with the people are talking about the defense that we're losing with Rob, but also if Tatum and Brown are going to take those defensive leaps that they are apparently going to take this year, hopefully that's not as big of an issue as we think it's going to be. But I think this gives those 2 guys a great opportunity to actually step up and kind of mold into that role.
Yeah, and I mean, if you want to talk about the last few years, we can even talk about the 2021 team. Now with Rob and Smart and Grant, and well, now Brogdon. But with all of those guys leaving, the Celtics now only have 7 players left from the 2021-2022 team that made the finals. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Derek White, Al Horford, Peyton Pritchard, Sam Hauser, and Luke Cornett are the only ones that are still there. And in my opinion, it's kind of surprising, especially with Peyton Pritchard, because now this is his opportunity. I mean, he survived Smart, Brogdon.
Is there really an opportunity though for Pritchard? I don't know.
He's gonna have to now. I mean,
why?
Because I think you have Derek. There's no point to start Derek White in the starting lineup. There's no point.
You don't think so?
There's not a point. Derek White, he showed it. He's a great catch and shoot guy, but White ran the second unit to almost perfection with his ability to defend, with the ability to play make. So it's like, I mean, do you really? I mean, that's a question. I don't know. I've never been high on Pritchard.
What's your starting lineup?
Oh, you don't have to be high on him.
I start Holiday at the 1, Brown at the 2. And then 3, I lean towards a guy like Hauser or Stevens, who can just play the defend, can do one thing really well. Because when you're playing around 4 all-stars, essentially, you just have to do one thing that you can just do. You're a shooter, you're a defender, and you'll play off the stars. So I feel like you run Holiday, Brown, Stevens / maybe Brissett, maybe someone at the 3.
There's like 6 options.
Yeah,
for
right. There's 6 options really. If you want to go Walsh, I probably wouldn't go Walsh, but
Banton.
yeah, and then you go Tatum and Porzingis. I just think it right now you're putting who do I want to gamble on? White or Pritchard? And I think again Pritchard could be a good scoring burst off the bench at times, but it's like, do I want Peyton Pritchard running my second unit in a year which is make or break? Not really. I don't know if I can sit here and confidently say, yeah, Peyton Pritchard's the guy to run the second unit in a year we have to win a title.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'd much rather have, when it comes to Pritchard or White off the bench at that one guard spot, I'd easily go Derek White. But I still think an opportunity is there for Peyton Pritchard to get more minutes. He doesn't have to play that one spot either. He could play off the ball as well. I do think that the opportunity is there for Peyton Pritchard. I mean, requesting a trade halfway through last season, Marcus Smart's gone, Malcolm Brogdon's gone, and Peyton Pritchard's all of a sudden that one guard that stayed. I do think that there is a spot for him on this team. I think the opportunity is much larger for him compared to the years past. But also, I think if we're arguing if there's an opportunity for Peyton Pritchard right now, I think that tells you that our guard depth is still very well for losing Smart and Brogdon. I mean, to have Derek White and Jrue Holiday on the same team is still that's astronomically huge for the Celtics. It's a good problem to have, right? Like we talked about on the podcast the other day about the forwards. Who would we start at forward? Who would even play backup to Tatum? These are all very good problems to have. So when we sit here and we hear, oh, the Celtics have no depth, it's like, no, they do. They have a lot of depth. It's just which directions do they want to use their depth.
I also do think something important noting is we still have that Grant TPE that we can send off and go big man with. So I think it covers $5.5 million. I have a list of the players who fit into that. So guys that can fit into that, the Celtics can look at big men. Nick Richards, Mason Plumlee, Jalen Duran, who's obviously probably a tough asking price. Don't expect that. Mark Williams, Dwight Powell, Kevin Love, Isaiah Stewart, Mike Muscala, obviously, who's be shipped off. That's probably not going to happen. Andre Drummond, DeAndre Jordan, Taj Gibson, Tristan Thompson, JaVale McGee. So a couple of those guys, JaVale, I do like JaVale. I think he could be solid. Isaiah Stewart's another one. Dwight Powell. Andre Drummond. So I do think there are some directions that the Celtics could look elsewhere in a trade, maybe 30, 40 games in, you could see at that big man depth if you're worried about that. But
give up a couple of second-round picks for like Andre Drummond.
Yes, I mean, but, oh my God, we're gonna be like
Brad stacked his draft capital this year. The Celtics still, I think they said like 3 first-round pick swaps are still available, 8 second-round picks that could be traded. So like Brad Stevens, remember draft night? How many times Brad Stevens traded back in the draft and how many picks we accumulated? I think we accumulated a first-round pick and 6 second-round picks or whatever the number was. Like,
been hanging out with Belichick too much.
I mean, like Brad Stevens has done a phenomenal job this offseason, and it all ties back to, again, as I mentioned earlier in the show, you got to make risk if you want to win titles.
Do you remember when draft night, when that was happening? After the Porzingis trade, there were reports saying Boston's not done, that they were sitting and waiting. They have these first-round picks to make a bigger splash. Well, fast forward a month and a half, 2 months. Here's the bigger splash. Jrue Holiday. Like, what? Like, if you just sit here, if you were to tell me back in April that October 1st comes around and our starting lineup consists of Kristaps Porzingis and Jrue Holiday, I would have said, shut the hell up, you're crazy. How? In what world does that happen?
Yeah.
I mean, what? Like that is, I mean, what an offseason for Brad.
Yeah, I mean, exec of the year already. I mean,
probably.
dude's. I mean, he's single-handedly keeping the Celtics. If you actually think about like how long this window has been open for the Celtics, it's crazy. It's been since what 2016 ish, 2017 maybe,
right.
and it's still open, and it'll probably be open next year too.
I think it just started. Like I think of course we were there with the opportunities there,
right, 100%.
but like we had young
We never
players,
expected
and then
it,
are we
yeah.
gonna win a ring with IT? I love IT, and then Hayward.
Right.
So it's like now we got year 7 and 8 JT and JB. They are just entering their prime now, and then you're gonna add Drew Holiday and like. You know what this feels like? This is feeling like KG Ray Allen offseason vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is what did Danny Ainge do in that offseason to really turn the franchise around? He took risks and he went all in, and he had to trade a lot of young talent. I mean, how many guys were in that freaking KG deal? Like the whole roster, right?
He traded the third over. I mean, Jeff Green was the 5th pick in the draft, and he shipped him off for Ray Allen.
Yeah, I mean, he went, and then obviously the Al Jefferson. Al Jefferson was a very solid player for the Celtics back then, and
went on to continue to be
right. And Gerald Green as well. Like a ton of guys went out, but this is the new Celtics, boys, and we are less than 24 hours away from media day, where we're gonna get to see all of our newcomers in Celtic uniforms, and the Celtics play a preseason game. Exactly a week from today against the Philadelphia 76ers. And I don't know. Who knows? Knowing Brad Stevens, he's probably not done yet, even though the season starts tomorrow. So, I think that what a splash. Last day. This is a buzzer beater. Last day of the offseason. I like to say media day, and training camp is kind of the start of the season, like picture day at school. So unbelievable job by Brad Stevens. So literally the only thing that holds the Celtics back, even with Dame in Milwaukee, I still think it applies. The Celtics hold themselves back. The mistakes, the injuries, if they can stay healthy, that all those questions are to be answered. But right now, if they could stay healthy, there's no shot, there's no chance that the Celtics shouldn't be back in the Eastern Conference Finals, let alone making it back to the NBA Finals and winning the finals.
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing, though. Another thing that Drew Holiday brings to your team is championship experience. Now, I know Tatum and Brown, obviously, they went to a finals, but they didn't win the finals. Right. Drew Holiday was on a team, and he got traded to that year that came in and won the finals. So he's just going to be another presence that
there's a ring in the
play off of Tatum and Brown. I'm very excited for Drew Holiday. I've been singing the praises of Drew Holiday ever since he got traded to Portland in the first place. So I am very excited. You could say I called the fact that he was going to come to the Celtics.
I just didn't think Brad had the balls to do it. I did not think Brad had in the same offseason that dude traded Marcus Smart. He trades Robert Williams. Like the cojones on this guy is just wild. Like, I mean, oh my God. He is just, seriously, I mean, to be a game away from the finals and then essentially hit the restart button, it really takes some guts. And I mean, oh my God, did he do it? And I've always said this. If there's one thing I trust Brad Stevens in, it's the trade player category. That dude really hasn't missed. When, knock on wood, hopefully I didn't just jinx us, right? But he really hasn't missed in terms of, I mean, the Brogdon trade was phenomenal, and the Derek White trade was phenomenal, and getting Al Horford back was phenomenal. So I trust this guy when he makes moves. It's just that he's made some really emotional moves this year with Smart and Rob, who honestly were probably the fans outside of Brown and Tatum. Those are probably the fans' two favorite players is Rob and Smart.
You know what? All of these moves that Brad Stevens has made, if he didn't think it was worth it, he wouldn't have done any of these deals.
Oh, I trust him. I really trust
that.
I really trust him.
Going back to the whole, I think even the free agents that we acquired 2 years ago, I thought Jay Rich was a phenomenal signing. We re-signed him right away. We extended him right away. And then, just when we fell in love with Jay Rich, we got an even better deal with Derek White, right? And, the list continues. But I guess the Celtics, per Woj, are actively trying to extend Drew Holiday. So who knows? Like I don't know what else to say other than I can't wait for tomorrow, media day. We'll get to hear from the players. We'll get to hear from Brad and Joe and all those guys and Wick. And then a week from today, I get it. It's not summer league, but it's preseason. I'm still excited. The Celtics are finally back. We're gonna get to see these guys on the court. Just gotta stay healthy.
Fingers crossed, man. I think that's the biggest thing on our way right now is health. I mean, if this team can stay healthy, we're looking at a 60-win championship team.
Oh yeah.
I
Oh
think.
yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
this team, I mean, I'm so excited for this season. I mean, going into, I've never had expectations this high for the Celtics. I expect them to absolutely cruise through this year.
I've learned with the Celtics to keep my expectations down by my feet. That way, I can't get humiliated.
I have too, but I have two. But this season just feels different.
It's
just look at
it is.
Look
It's
at
so
the
different.
headshots on the graphic down below us. That is our potential starting five.
Yeah, that's
You
crazy.
can take one of those. You can take one of those guys out, and you're still
And it's still the best 5 in the league.
it's still potentially the best 5 in the league.
It's crazy.
Obviously, take Tatum out. It's
Crazy.
probably not, but like you get what I'm saying. It's
It's still a solid lineup.
oh my
dude.
God, Jason Tatum can't play tonight. His ankle's bothering him. Okay, well then Drew Holiday can get you 30. Brown can get you 40. Porzingis can get you 40. White can get you 20. Not in the same, but on any given night, that can happen. Right. In hell, we saw Drew Holiday. He lit us up for 40.
Yeah.
So it's like it's just, I mean, the fact that Milwaukee allowed this to happen, I think is hilarious.
You want to feel old? Drew Holiday's second NBA game was against the Celtics. How long ago was that? Rasheed Wallace made 6 threes for Boston. November 3rd. November 3rd, 2009. Sheldon Williams.
Oh my God.
Sheldon Williams, Lester Hudson, Eddie House, and Scal all played for the Celtics.
Dude, yeah, Rasheed Wallace. That was another one of those. If he wasn't so injury prone at the end of his career, we could have really done something. But
oh no,
what?
Tim Wakefield just passed away from the Red Sox.
Oh,
that's crazy.
Wow.
I heard he was going through.
Just diagnosed.
He was 57. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember seeing like a diagnosis of him, but I didn't think it was going to be. Oh, that's awful. Thoughts and prayers.
Thoughts and prayers go out to you, absolutely, and your family.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Well, don't we just break all the news?
Yeah, I know. Well, on a positive note, we got a lot of look forward to as Celtics fans, as Boston fans. We can rally against around. I mean, media day. You stay. We have you covered. Like, just stay in touch with us because we're gonna try to get you everything. There's gonna be a lot. I mean, Brad and Joe, I saw, are going to be there. They're going to get 15 minutes of press conference. You can catch them live. I know Mark D'Amico does like a full broadcast of the whole thing. So you can catch that there. We're going to try to keep you updated as much as we can. I mean, I wonder what number Holiday is going to wear. I mean, you got Porzingis. I mean, seeing
like
Porzingis
92 or something like that. I mean, Christ,
he'll probably be 4, honestly.
I don't know, unless V took that. V might have taken 4.
I mean, God, even like I was excited for media day because of Porzingis, and now it's like, oh my God, you got Drew Holiday in town too.
87, Drew Holiday.
87, big Gronk, Rob Gronk. But I think that's all we got for you guys today. We want to, obviously, it's not a traditional podcast, but it's a little live stream. We want to come in. You got to talk about something like this. We will have a podcast going up on Wednesday that we record again Monday. If we do live streams, you'll see them on Instagram. We might maybe we'll do one Monday or whenever our schedule's free. Thank you guys so much for joining in to this live stream and 4:25 Pat's play. So I know it's Sunday. We don't really
the New York Liberty baby playing today, getting back into the WNBA Finals.
Yeah,
Connecticut Sun.
Let's go New York.
Connecticut Sun.
Thank you guys so much for joining us.